Hello and welcome back to the Karma Stories podcast. I'm Rob and I hope you are having a wonderful day today. Today I have 3 stories for you from the Malicious Compliance subreddit. Today's episode is sponsored by my 3D printing website. Check out dangly3d.com where you can get your hands on your very own 3D printed Carmen Chameleon, Karma Stories channel mascot. And yes, it comes complete with cookies. I've got a bunch of other items on there as well, like dragons, keychains, and a whole bunch of just cute critters. Check it out for yourself at dangly3d.com. Alright, on to today's stories. Let's jump right in. This story comes to us from Texas Ford Tough. The cheerleaders can break dress code because they're school uniforms? Guess I'm wearing mine. Back in 2013, when I was just a sophomore in high school, there was an unofficial Friday tradition. Each Friday, the cheerleaders, football players minus their pads, band members, and a few other performance groups would stroll into class wearing their uniforms. This wasn't written in any handbook, but it had been a long-standing custom that no one seemed to question. The only real dress code violations came from the cheerleaders and dance teams, whose uniforms were generally shorter than the rules allowed. But because they were official school uniforms, nobody made a fuss. I wasn't usually the type to wear skirts, but every once in a while I liked wearing a dress. Since I grew up in Texas, anyone familiar with the weather there knows how hot it can still be in August and September. So one warm day in September, I decided to wear a casual sundress that ended about 4 inches above my knee. Unfortunately, the dress code stated that any skirt or dress needed to be no shorter than 2 inches above the knee. To my surprise, partway through the school day, I got pulled out of class by a teacher and sent to the office. The assistant principal reprimanded me, pointing out that my dress was a couple of inches too short. Trying to stand up for myself, I mentioned that the cheerleaders and dance team members wore skirts that hit around mid-thigh every single Friday. The assistant principal shook her head and told me that was different because students can wear official school uniforms. Then she sent me home to change. I left school that day feeling annoyed and singled out. As I made my way back home, my mind started racing with ideas. I remembered something important. I was on the school's golf team. The following Friday was only a few days away, and I had a plan. Our school had recently upgraded the golf team's uniforms the previous year. For the girls, the uniform consisted of a short-sleeved collared polo shirt with the school's logo and a matching skort. If you've never heard of a skort, it's basically a skirt with built-in shorts, like bike shorts underneath. Ours were quite short, possibly even shorter than the cheerleaders' uniforms. That Friday, I got ready for school wearing my golf uniform instead of packing it in my gym bag like I usually did. When my parents saw me, they were a bit puzzled, but I shrugged and said, "It's Friday, so I'm allowed to wear my sports uniform to class." They didn't press the issue and drove me to school. By second period, as expected, I was called down to the assistant principal's office. The moment I walked in, she glared at me. She asked why I was deliberately disobeying her right after our last conversation, and threatened me with an in-school suspension. She went on and on about how I'd never get anywhere if I kept ignoring authority. It took her a while to stop talking and let me respond. When I finally got the chance, I calmly explained, "This is the official school golf uniform. You told me students could wear official school uniforms to class, so why is it okay for the cheerleaders but not for me? Besides, this isn't even a regular skirt, it's a skort, so there are shorts underneath." She sat there staring at me with a cold, furious look, and for a few seconds, I was genuinely worried she might explode right then and there. Finally, she snapped and told me to wait in the lobby. She said she would be calling my parents about my blatant disrespect. I walked out to the front office area, my heart pounding. As much as I was trying to stand my ground, I absolutely hated being in trouble. My anxiety was through the roof, and it took a lot to hold back tears. To distract myself, I fiddled with my iPod, made small talk with the school secretary, and tried to maintain an outward sense of calm. Deep down, though, I was worried about whether I had taken things too far. After about 20 minutes, the assistant principal popped her head out of her office and said, in the most monotone voice, that I could go back to class. She also told me to inform my teachers that I had received permission from the front office to wear my golf uniform. Then, almost as quickly as she'd appeared, she shut the door behind her. Somewhat dazed, I returned to my classes. Most of my teachers seemed baffled by my outfit and asked if I was sure I was allowed to wear it. At least 2 of them called the front office to confirm my story. Each time, they received the same response: yes, I had permission. By the end of the day, I headed off to golf practice as usual, still wearing the uniform that had caused all the fuss. When I got home, my dad was waiting by the front door. He gave me a small, knowing smile as I approached. Curious, I asked him what had happened. I knew the assistant principal must have called him since he was the primary contact for my school. He told me that when she called, she expected him to come pick me up and punish me for my insubordination. Instead, he argued with her, raising his voice more than he'd intended. He demanded to know why I couldn't wear my official team uniform, one that the school itself had given me for practice and competitions. He then suggested taking the issue to the school board if they were going to enforce different rules for different teams. Apparently, faced with my dad's determination, the assistant principal decided to back down. My dad ended his story by gently asking me not to push my luck like that again, though he admitted he was proud of me for standing my ground. "I've always told you never to start a fight," he said, "but always to fight back if you have to. I used to mean it in a physical sense, but you sure showed you can fight back verbally." I grinned, relieved that I wasn't in serious trouble. That day felt like a small victory for every student who'd ever been singled out under confusing or selectively enforced rules. It also proved that sometimes standing up for yourself and doing so calmly is the right thing to do, even if it means a tense showdown in the assistant principal's office. OP added a few edits down at the bottom. The first one says, Edit 1, to my fellow 20-somethings, I'm truly sorry for reminding you that 2013 was over 8 years ago. And if you end up finding a few gray hairs, please don't waste too much time staring at yourself in the mirror. Edit number 2 says, I'd also like to apologize to everyone in their 30s to 60s. I know my first edit might have been even more of a reality check for some of you. Let's just say time flies, and we're all in this together. OP added a third edit that says, there's one detail I want to clarify about the band uniforms. The band members didn't wear those thick wool uniforms to class on Fridays. Instead, they had custom t-shirts and nice pants. Their directors enforced that dress code strictly every single week. And the final edit says, lastly, to the folks who are in their 30s or 60s or any age, I'm sorry if I didn't include you specifically before. Those responsible for the earlier edits have been properly reprimanded. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, we have one from a user called Nat1Common It says, great story, great malicious compliance, but let's not gloss over the fact your dad was prepared for you to throw down at school. OP responded and said, oh yeah, laugh out loud. My school district had a zero tolerance policy for fighting, so even if you defended yourself, you got in just as much trouble. My dad was pissed off when he found out this policy when I moved to the district in middle school, and that's when he told me that line, and that he would fight tooth and nail if he found out if someone jumped me, and I got in just as much trouble for defending myself. Another commenter down below called Disciplined Cheddar said, this is the first post I've read in this subreddit mentioning being anxious about authority and trying to hold back the tears, but still defending oneself. Thank you for sharing your story, but also that small detail, as it encourages me to speak for myself too. I love all the edits that OP put on this one because there were a ton of people down in the comments realizing just how long ago 2013 was. Because if you think about it, it's only like 3 or 4 years ago, right? It's totally not 10 or 12 years ago. Coming from someone who graduated before the 2000s, I think I'd just like to stop talking about this now. This story comes to us from Ding Dong De Long Wong. Everybody must know when I am out of office. So yeah, a couple of years ago, I was working for an IT company which also provided server management and general domain and email services. We had some really big companies as clients, so we were used to some really idiotic demands. But most of the time, we could convince the people whose main job seemingly was to be in charge to listen to our expertise. Not so Mr. Bigwig. Mr. Bigwig was the CEO of a large automobile sales company. He also was the type of guy who prided himself with being a great negotiator and thinking so far ahead regular people can't follow. And he was a complete butt to everyone. Mr. Bigwig went on a holiday once and set up an automatic out-of-office reply in his mail account, but as is the technical standard, everybody who wrote him during that time only received the reply just one single time. When Mr. Bigwig returned from his vacation, this infuriated him a lot, so he called our support line and yelled and cussed his way up our hierarchy until he had me on the phone. I tried to tell him that this was working as intended and tried to explain why, but Mr. Bigwig wouldn't have any of it. This went all the way to our CTO, who sent him a waiver to sign stating that we would deactivate this limitation but not be liable for any consequences, in short. Then he told me to make the changes to Mr. Bigwig's account. I tried to object, but the CTO just smiled, shrugged, and went into his office. Mr. Bigwig was happy. He won, and booked this as his latest negotiating victory. Now let us jump to December the 29th of the same year. I get a phone call from Mr. Bigwig. He is not happy. He's not happy because he is blacklisted on about every blacklist in existence. He is also not happy because he can't receive or send any email. And he is not happy because he can't find any mail he received during the Christmas holidays, or near them. He can't find them because the nice number in brackets beside his inbox folder that indicates the amount of unread emails he has reads 50,000. A quick look around the server logs tells me there are indeed some mails he did not receive, 150,000 to be exact. They are still pending delivery because his inbox is full. He is also not happy because he is the laughingstock of everybody he ever respected. Now, let me guide you as the reader to the bottom of this. What you don't know, and we also did not know at the time, is Mr. Bigwig was a member of a very exclusive group of business owners, CEOs, and high-ranking politicians around the globe. The kind of people you would imagine sitting around a large oak table, smoking cigars, drinking €200 whiskey, and discussing world dominance. This group had a mailing list, a crappy, basic mailing list. It went something like this: Bigwig, out of office reply, "Hey, thank you for your email, but I'm on holiday. I will reply later." Some random dude at mailing list, "Merry Christmas." Mailing list to everybody, "Hey guys, some random dude is wishing you a Merry Christmas." Bigwig on the mailing list, "Thank you for telling me, but I'm on holiday. I will reply later." Mailing list at everybody, "Hey guys, Mr. Bigwig is on holiday. He will reply later." Bigwig to the mailing list, "Thanks for telling me, but I'm on holiday. I will reply later." Mailing list to effing everybody, "Hey guys, Mr. Bigwig is on holiday. He will reply later." Bigwig to the mailing list, "Thanks for telling me, but I'm on holiday. I will reply later." Mailing list to effing everybody, "Hey guys, Mr. Bigwig is on holiday. He will reply later." Bigwig to the mailing list, "Thanks for telling me, but I'm on holiday. I will reply later." Mailing list to effing everybody, "Hey guys, Mr. Bigwig is on holiday. He will reply later." Repeat until the servers give out. So Mr. Bigwig was not the only one who had thousands and thousands of emails in his folder. All his fancy pants networking contacts had too. Mr. Bigwig raged hard at everyone who was brave enough to get on the phone with him, threatened to sue us for millions of euros, and to end us as a business. We finally put him through to our founder, who listened to his rant and told him we would send him a solution within the next 10 minutes. He sent 2 documents, a scan of the signed waiver, in which the consequences of disabling the out-of-office message restriction were outlined in detail, and a service contract allowing us to fix the problem to our abilities without any financial budget limitations, but with a really nice, enormous estimated budget. It was a good year for the company, with an unexpected spike in revenue just before New Year's Eve. Jumping down to the comments on this one, we have one from a user called NowUC. It says, "I thought it was going to be that another out-of-office response kept replying to his, and it just went on and on. But this is so much better. Not only has he lost his crap and all the company's communications, but he's effed up the main form of communication for the top 20 city CEOs, or whatever they are, as well. Right around that critical end-of-year period. Your founder's way of dealing with this is perfection. So if we look back on this one, they explained the consequences of the actions to this CEO, and the CEO still said, "Do it because I'm more important and I know what I'm doing." Obviously, that is completely false. This CEO does not know anything about tech, and especially how emails work. While this CEO may be the laughing stock of all of his CEO friends right now, it is actually going to be a hilarious story for them to tell in the future when they're sitting around with their glasses of whiskey and having conversations about all the things that really matter in the world. You know, like selling Teslas at the White House. This story comes to us from Gromulox. Parent says it's not our business what her son does on the community garden, so we let him get up to his neck in crap. Literally. Happened just a couple of hours ago. This story is so fresh, you can still smell it. On our community garden, we get teams of kids from the local school come to help, and it's often the case that they turn up on a Saturday morning as well. They're almost entirely well behaved, which is a good job, as there's not a lot we can do about bad behavior beyond a stern voice. Although one time a lad kicked one of our rabbits, so a girl brained him with a shovel. Rough but effective justice. There's this one lad who came for the first time last week. Don't know him, but we made him very welcome. He only lasted half an hour before storming off in tears after his third telling off for spinning round and round, holding a tool, and then letting it fly off at head height. This morning his mom, I assume, came with him. I saw him point out my friend and me, but he didn't ask to join in, so after shouting hello, we let them be. After about 10 minutes, he started wandering, and my friend shouted to him, "Don't go round behind the greenhouse, mate, it's not safe round there." Well, his mom had obviously been waiting for this because she went 0 to 100 in 2 seconds flat, demanding to know, do we own this garden? And if not, what business is it of ours where her son goes? We explained we just want him to be safe, and she replied that she's quite capable of taking care of that herself. Thank you. Fine, on you go. Off he went, exploring behind the greenhouse, which is not safe because it's the compost heap, which is very unstable, and the muck mound, which is a giant pile of horse manure we get delivered every autumn. By the spring, the inside is all nice and rotted down, and the outside is hard, crusty, and less strong than you may think. After a minute, there was a crunch, a squeal, and I think we did very well to drag him out without saying, "I told you so," or breaking into guffaws. He was absolutely black from chest height downwards, and although well-rotted manure doesn't smell really bad, it is very thick and sticky and slimy. His mom grabbed him without a word, and they headed for the gate. He started bawling as soon as the surprise wore off. My friend said, "Would you like some bin bags to spread out in your car?" And to her credit, she did say thanks when he handed them over. I wonder if we'll see him again next week. OP added an edit down at the bottom. It says, "Edit to everyone saying we should have made a point of some kind. If you're mean to kids or they think you're making fun of them, they just don't come back. Kids and adults do stupid crap all the time, and you quickly get into the habit of just dusting them down and getting on with things. Don't get me wrong, we definitely laughed about it later, but how's a little knobhead like this going to learn if he doesn't come back to the allotment and get his hands dirty?" Jumping down to the comment section on this one, we have one from a deleted account. It quotes OP when they said, "Although one time a lad kicked one of our rabbits, so a girl brained him with a shovel, rough but effective justice." They said, "Cognitive recalibration via kinetic force is usually an effective deterrent." Another commenter down below called Raging Red Blue said, "Why wouldn't you say, 'I told you so'? Those would have been the first words out of my mouth. I'd have had a big smug grin on my face too." OP responded and said, "Just trying so hard not to laugh, honestly. Saw it coming, enjoyed it in full. Proper comedy squelch sound when we grabbed a shoulder each and yanked him out too. At least his shoes stayed on." You know, I was thinking on this one that they really should have made good with what the mother said. They said they could handle their kid themselves. Oh, well, if that's the case, you can go pull him out by yourself too then. I just feel like there was no justice in this one, even though the boy did what he wasn't supposed to and ended up in poop. There should have been some justice for the mother as well, who was a bit of a turd herself. If you enjoy daily Reddit stories, I encourage you to follow and add us to your favorites on whichever podcasting platform you enjoy the most. And if you're watching and listening on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button and drop a like on the video. It really helps us out. I thank you for watching and listening. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.